All right, let's go on to tech. This is a similarly important story here. Theo Von recently sat down with Sam Altman about privacy and AI. Actually fascinating. Let's take a listen.
What legal system does AI have to work by? Is there like a legal, like we have laws like in the world, right? Like in the human world.
Yeah, so I think we will certainly need a legal or a policy framework for AI. One example that we've been thinking about a lot, this is like maybe not quite what you're asking, this is like a very human-centric version of that question. People talk about the most personal shit in their lives to ChatGPT. It's, people use it, young people especially, like use it as a therapist, a life coach, having these relationship problems, what should I do? And right now, if you talk to a therapist or a lawyer or a doctor about those problems, there's like legal privilege for it. There's doctor-patient confidentiality, there's legal confidentiality, whatever. And we haven't figured that out yet for when you talk to ChatGPT. So if you go talk to ChatGPT about your most sensitive stuff and then there's like a lawsuit or whatever, like we could be required to produce that. And I think that's very screwed up. I think we should have like the same concept of privacy for your conversations with AI that we do with a therapist or whatever. And no one had to think about that even a year ago. And now I think it's this huge issue of like, how are we going to treat the laws around this?
Well, do you think there should be like kind of like a slowing things down before we move there kind of? Because yeah, that is kind of wild. It's one of the reasons I get scared sometimes to use certain AI stuff because I don't know how much personal information I want to put in because I don't know who's going to have it.
I think we need this point addressed with some urgency. And the policymakers I've talked to about it like broadly agree. It's new and now we got to do it quickly. Do you talk to ChatGPT?
I don't talk to it that much.
Because of this?
I think it is. It's because it's like
I think it makes sense
to not talk to ChatGPT.
No. To like really want the privacy clarity before you use it a lot.
Yeah,
like the legal clarity.
Yeah, it's scary, and it's like, well, how long does it take lawmakers to come up with that? And then it feels like it's moving so fast that it's like it doesn't even matter. That sometimes it's like it doesn't even really matter. It's like, are we even waiting for the laws to be put around this, or what's going on? Does it feel like it's moving too fast for you sometimes?
The last few months have felt very fast. It feels faster and faster, but the last few months have felt very fast.
I don't know. I'm curious what you make of that conversation. I read it two ways because number one, I think it is objectively crazy that, the information or whatever you put into AI is subject to subpoena or whatever from the government, all your private information. Let's be honest though, that's been true of Google search now for 20 years. So it's not exactly a big change, but I'm also pretty skeptical of the idea that they should be like that their privacy or their information on you should be subject to a privacy standard, which they themselves get to control. So I feel very torn about the entire thing because it really just highlights the story of power around this and about personal information. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because
all very dark.
Because what Sam is advocating
well, Sam says you're right to not use ChatGPT.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, by the way, I'm screwed. I use ChatGPT for a lot.
Here's what's different about ChatGPT versus Google to some extent is it's being sold in part as like, oh, this can be your buddy.
Yes,
this can be your therapist.
The therapy thing really freaks me out. Because
and
there's those documented cases of people with schizo using ChatGPT, and it gets them to do even crazier. They validate their insane beliefs.
That's right. And then you have, on with Grok, you now have these, what do they call them, companions.
AI companions.
They're really pushing these bots to be like an intimate part of your life. And that is different than Google search. So totally. I think it needs to be addressed. I do think there needs to be some sort of like, patient-client privileged information kind of a situation, or even asking for legal advice, like all of that. But I'll tell you, I watched this whole conversation. I think it's worth watching. I thought Theo asked some very incisive and interesting questions, including at one point he asked Sam Altman if he was just like a charming Terminator, which is like, yeah, I think you kind of nailed it with that one. And he asked him at another point if him and his other, like Peter Thiel and these other tech guys are fully human, or if they're like more robot than human, which was, elicited an interesting response as well. But Sam at one point spells out his sort of like what he's floating as how to deal with the AI revolution in which, many jobs, most of human labor is rendered basically irrelevant. And he spells, you should listen to what he has in mind. It's basically like a one world government, new world order. We all have, these chits that we can like buy and trade with each other. that come out of the, benevolence of Sam and the other tech overlords who are going to allot us our certain number of chits.
Yep.
That's the sort of thing that he has in mind for what the world is going to look like. And he's very casual about the amount of change. Like, he acknowledges this is going to be like, the world is not going to be the way that it was before. It's going to be completely different. And then you're like, how? And he's like, I don't know. And you should be like, that should make you very, very nervous. So there's another interesting exchange where I think Sam asked Theo, if people could vote about should the tech stop, what do you think that they would vote? And Theo was like, I think they'd vote to stop it, or at least pause, or at least I think he said put some sugar in the gas tank or something, slow it down. And of course, we've seen the polling. Overwhelmingly, people are very uncomfortable with the pace of change and the lack of any sort of thought put into how this is going to completely transform humanity, human relations. The fact that we derive so much of our dignity and self-worth and identity from work, and their idea is just to wipe that away, and there's no care or thought being put into any of this. I think it's reasonable to be quite concerned about that, and I don't think you will come away from this conversation with Sam Altman feeling any less concerned than you did going in.
I totally agree, especially whenever you start to link it to Mark Zuckerberg's recent announcement about how super intelligence is very, very nearly here. Now, keep in mind, I want to explain the business factors behind this. Mark Zuckerberg has always hated Apple. Why? Because Apple and the iPhone is the gateway to the Instagram and the Facebook Blue app, which means that they control and have effectively hurt their business on advertising. So he is obsessed with the idea of building the new iPhone, the new platform. That's why they're going all in on those Meta glasses, because they want the glasses to replace the phone, to be the sole way that you interact with technology, so they can roll up the entire economic reward and take it away from the future of Apple. Keep that in mind for why they're spending literally trillions of dollars now on superintelligence and on AI, because they want to break through and make the first piece of consumer electronics which fully is able to replace your experience with the phone. So keep all of that in mind with what he's saying here about how superintelligence is actually pretty quick and about what the future of technology is going to look like. Let's take a listen.
I want to talk about our new effort, Meta Superintelligence Labs, and our vision to build personal superintelligence for everyone. AI keeps accelerating, and over the past few months, we've begun to see glimpses of AI systems improving themselves. So developing superintelligence is now in sight. But there's this big open question about what we should direct superintelligence towards. A lot has been written about the scientific and economic advances that AI can bring, and I'm really optimistic about this. But I think an even more meaningful impact in our lives is going to come from everyone having a personal superintelligence that helps you achieve your goals, create what you want to see in the world, be a better friend, and grow to become the person that you aspire to be. This vision is different from others in the industry who want to direct AI at automating all of the valuable work. At Meta, we believe in putting the power of superintelligence in people's hands to direct it towards what they value in their own lives. Some of this will be about improving productivity, but a lot of it may be more personal in nature. This is going to be a new era in some ways, but in others, it's just a continuation of historical trends. About 200 years ago, 90% of people were farmers growing food to survive. Today, fewer than 2% grow all of our food. Advances in technology have freed much of humanity to focus less on subsistence and more on the pursuits that we choose. And at each step along the way, most people have decided to use their newfound productivity to spend more time on creativity, culture, relationships, and just enjoying life. And I expect superintelligence to accelerate this trend even more.
So you guys can see that we want superintelligence for everyone, and we're all going to have better friends, because that's definitely been a consequence. I mean, it's all out in the open. They want the Meta glasses to replace the iPhone. They want the AI superintelligence to become the sole way that we all interact. It's going to be Minority Report. That's their vision. And, it sounds kind of cool until you start thinking about the economics of it, because already there's this huge debate within ChatGPT about what free ChatGPT should look like. And everyone's like, guys, just copy Google and put ads in the feed. Why don't we just... And so that really raises the question of if you think about what, quote, went wrong with Google search, if anything did go wrong, it was not just the introduction of AdWords, but about how the ranking became disaggregated from what was the best content and ultimately just came about trying to sell you as many ads as humanly possible. Obviously, it's turned out to be an incredible business for all of them. That's basically what Facebook did too. You know, it was a bankrupt company, it made no money, and then they were like, oh, we got to put ads in the feed. Same with Instagram. I mean, it took forever, but they eventually turned it into a multi-billion-dollar business. YouTube, same thing. For a lot of people who were watching this video for free, you probably had to sit there and wait, or you had to pay for YouTube Premium. But that's the dystopian corporatized future of what this all looks like. And it's actually all a fight for making it so that you put all your attention and use on the device just so they can sell you either advertising or you have to pay for the privilege of not being subjected to advertising.
Yeah.
I mean, I pay $20 a month for ChatGPT.
Yeah,
you know?
well, these people are terrifying.
It's scary.
I mean, they're terrifying.
I agree.
They are terrifying. And the idea is basically that, you know, think of how much power they already have. If their dreams and wishes and aspirations come true, they will be basically like all-powerful figures that control what we can all do on this entire planet. I mean, that's what they're aiming for. If you listen to them, there's a chilling moment in that interview with Sam Altman and Theo Von, where Theo makes, again, very incisive comment of when you look at these data centers from above, it looks like you're turning the planet into like a computer like circuit board. And Sam Altman's like, yeah, that is what it's going to look like.
Yes.
That is what because they are so massive. And then there's the questions too of like the resources that it takes. There's already huge burdens in terms of the water that's needed. I mean, the amount of water that is needed to cool these things is like unbelievable. The amount of power that's taken. And Theo asks him about that. And Sam says basically like, well, we're hoping to get to fission energy and then that'll solve the problem. And we believe that AI will help us to get there. So we need to race to get to fission energy. We need to build out and like consume all the resources now so that we can hope to get to fission energy to solve the problem with the AI in the future. That's what they're betting on.
Yes.
So, I mean, the whole thing is just incredibly disturbing, dystopian. The implications are beyond anyone, including the people who are developing its capacity to really comprehend. And we're just barreling towards it 1,000 miles per hour with all of the brakes cut.
And another thing I want to highlight, this was flagged to me by a couple of friends of mine. Let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen, is that the behavior of these companies too is really horrible in terms of how they view American workers. So this is an H1B visa scandal that came out of Microsoft. So, quote, Microsoft's H1B visa applications are questioned amid mass layoffs. So very recently, they are growing pressure to account for its new H1B visa requests, affecting around 9,000 employees. So what happened is that they fired 9,000 people, 2 waves in May and June, affecting another 8,000 total. The company has laid off nearly 16,000 people in total this year out of the 228,000 strong global employee base. In the weeks, though, that followed those layoff announcements, you began to see that the company had apparently applied for some 6,000 high-skilled work visas, or H-1Bs, since October, the current start of the fiscal year. And while that number, what they look at is that they applied last year for a similar number of some 9,491 H-1B visas, all of which were approved. This, remember the whole H-1B scandal that we covered, 6 months ago or some? By the way, Elon and Trump, very approving of this. This demonstrates, I want to see for everybody, that they don't care even about the tech workers here in America. They will outsource it all, use this like slave labor type system where you basically have these guys locked to a desk, with these contracts, fire people, who have actual rights, like labor rights here as American citizens. But this is all part of a scheme to just roll things up to the bottom line. Microsoft has, of course, partnered with who? OpenAI and with ChatGPT, right? The most use of AI and ChatGPT, apparently, that I have heard of is in the Microsoft teams. A lot of our corporate listeners will understand what I'm saying, but they use AI as part of their enterprise software. So I'm just showing people here how they do not care about American workers and or labor. And now this is a global problem because they don't really care about any workers
They don't care
anywhere.
about anyone.
They do not care
about
period.
Humanity.
Yes,
they don't.
Their entire mission is just to increase stock price, their own personal wealth, and control. And so this is exactly why, by the way, we need more, actual government protection for a lot of the workers who are also. The irony is these are the people who are actually implementing AI at a enterprise level and are being screwed over by the H1B visa system.
I mean,
so it's just ridiculous.
Listen to Peter Thiel, hem and haw, when he's asked whether he thinks the human race should
wild.
persist.
I wish I had been here for that. That was
Listen
insane.
to how he hems and haws. Last thing, and then we'll get to Owen Jones here, who's standing by. A CEO was bragging in an interview about how excited he is to fire people because of AI, to your point. Elijah Clark, a chief executive who advises other head honchos on using AI at their companies, says CEOs are extremely excited about the opportunities AI brings. As a CEO myself, I can tell you, I'm extremely excited about it. I've laid off employees myself because of AI. AI does not go on strike. It doesn't ask for a pay raise. These things that you don't have to deal with as a CEO. So there you go.
Yep.
If you had any question in your mind about how they think about you and how they will treat you in the future, here you go. They are thrilled to be able to fire you and make your life a living hell.
There you go. All right. And then replace you, by the way, with cheap labor if they actually.
Or a robot.
Yeah. So, okay. Got it. That's why we need a lot more. All right. Owen Jones standing by. Let's get to it. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.